Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our daily meditation. My name is Miles Kessler. I'll be leading today's session once again. Just a few announcements before we begin. The usual routine. Sangha Live, this wonderful platform community, this wonderful Dhamma resource is especially these daily meditations. They are offered on a free basis, open-handed. And to support that, just please do remember that they don't happen out of nowhere. They happen out of the good intentions and efforts of several people, a whole team, in fact, not to mention platform and all that other stuff, and a community of teachers who show up regularly here to share practice with you. If you care to donate, offer dana to those efforts to help support the good efforts of Sangha Live, to help support your practice, I put the link in the chat. Today I'll give a short talk. We'll sit for about 20-25 minutes together, and then I'll take questions. I do have some questions that were left over from day one, so I'll take a few of those. And I do want to say, before I dive into today's topic, one of the questions I got from Olivia on Monday was a question about she says she's a beginner and she is asking about how to find a teacher. So tomorrow I'll address that. It'll be basically tomorrow's talk about how the talk will be on qualities of a meditation teacher. So stay tuned for that. And it's part of this week's topic, actually. So thank you all for being here with me today. This week we're looking at the over kind of umbrella topic of cutting through to ultimate reality, which really is the whole purpose of our meditation practice, whole purpose of our Dhamma practice. Incrementally, little by little, step by step. If the linear image of that is not your cup of tea, then simply by being present in the present moment, here and now, in this moment, and in this moment, and in this moment. This practice, this intention is what leads us to directly seeing ultimate reality. The dust gets cleared from our eyes, so to speak. We're able to see the Dhamma. The eye of insight gradually, slowly begins to open. Excuse me. And our view, the way we see and experience and relate to the world, the internal world, the external world, our reality, gradually begins to transform. And it moves us to a more awakened view of reality and a more awakened relationship to life. That happens when we see the Dhamma, not just once, not just twice, but repeatedly. Some experiences do. Some experiences of coming into contact with the Dhamma, ultimate reality, bring about a transformation in consciousness that you just don't go backwards anymore. Other experiences, probably say the majority of our experiences, are one step forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 3 steps back. Sometimes it feels like we're not really making any progress, but never fear. We absolutely are making progress. Every moment of mindfulness leads to the direct experience of ultimate reality. In fact, the Buddha said basically don't underestimate a moment of mindfulness. He said that one moment of mindfulness is better than a full day of no mindfulness. He went on to say one moment of mindfulness is better than, has more weight, has more value than a full week of not being mindful. One moment of mindfulness has more value than a full month, indeed a full year of not being mindful. Put one moment of mindfulness on the scale over here and put a full year of not being mindful on the scale over here. This has more karmic weight. And he went on and on. One moment of mindfulness is better than 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. Indeed, 10,000 years, 100,000 years. One moment of mindfulness has more value than 100,000 years of not being mindful. So don't underestimate our practice. And that kind of leads to our topic today, because when we were talking about cutting through to ultimate reality, of course, we have to have these, the controlling faculties is what really, the indriya in the Pali language, the controlling faculties are what determine a person's progress. Sadhavidya, sati, samadhi, and penya, faith, energetic effort, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. Those control the how we make progress in our practice. And those incredibly wholesome and incredibly skillful mental states gradually get accessed, awakened, cultivated, strengthened, and balanced in our meditation practice, just by being mindful, just by doing mindfulness practice. It happens automatically. As a way to help balance or help to kind of sharpen our controlling faculties, we have these 9 ways of sharpening the controlling faculties. And again, it's teaching. Well, it's teaching from U Pandita, Sayadaw U Pandita, the late Burmese meditation master from the Mahasi tradition. But everything he taught is straight out of the text, so it's either from the Abhidhamma or from the suttas. And in this book, In This Very Life, which is a highly recommended book. I mean, there's so many great, wonderful Dharma books, but if you're doing retreats, this is kind of one of the best. Second chapter in this book, he talks about cutting through to ultimate reality, having these 9 practices. And I'll just go over the list right quick before we dive into one. Number 1 was paying attention to impermanence. Number 2, practicing with care and respect. Those were the 2 that we looked on Monday and Tuesday yesterday. The 3rd practice is practicing with an unbroken continuity of mindfulness. The 4th is creating supportive conditions like Sangha Life, among other things. The 5th practice is reapplying helpful conditions from your past. If it worked in the past, try it again. It could work again. The 6th is cultivating the 7 factors of awakening, the enlightenment factors. I won't go into that list. The 7th practice is courageous effort, which I'll talk a little bit about today. The 8th is practicing with patience and perseverance. And the 9th is an unwavering commitment to the Dhamma. That you are ultimately committed to the absolute over the relative. Not to bypass the relative. No. We need to work through the relative. There's a lot of relative issues in the world that, oh my God, need to be worked out. So let's do that in whatever way we do it. But never forget that to really understand the relative, we have to have the perspective of the absolute. When we have that perspective, oh my God, everything else falls into place. Everything else falls into place. Without that perspective, it's just like, oh my God, how do I cope with this craziness? Sometimes. So one of these practices is the practice of courageous effort. And effort, as I said yesterday, the day before, I don't remember when, it kind of gets a bad rap in meditation circles. It gets a bad rap for good reason. because you and I, as Westerners, these days also Asians, but certainly traditionally it wasn't the case, but Westerners, we live in a very much of an effortful society. We live in an achievement-driven society, and for better and worse. For better and worse, there are two sides to every coin. And if you bring that achievement mindset to your meditation practice, it will be problematic. It's like putting on a life jacket, a life preserver, these kind of floaty jackets. Putting on not just one, putting on two, and then diving into the water and trying to dive down. The more you make an effort to dive down, the more the buoyancy lifts you up. The pressure is equal in opposite direction. Oh my gosh, if you bring that effort to meditation, you'll burn out. You will burn out. So, yes, it is important that we learn how to love ourselves exactly as we are. It is important that we learn how to not have a goal in the practice, even though, big secret, this is a practice for awakening. There is an awakening experience. There's a process of purification that gradually awakens us, leads us to more liberation, less suffering. There is an experience or a handful of experiences that bring about a transformation of the consciousness that are traditionally called enlightenment. This is the path that we are walking on. Those experiences are waiting for everybody at the end of that path, even though there's no end. We need to understand that. Let's not throw that baby out with the bathwater. Absolutely not. But the problem is, of course, having a goal, striving towards that experience, whatever the hell that might be, is going to be problematic. It's going to cause you problems in your practice, like over-efforting is a recipe for burnout sooner or later. And if you recruit others to that cause, it's going to kind of create some bad karma there as well. So we have to have that profound practice of just acceptance and allowing and relinquishing control. At the same time, we try to bring ourselves into alignment with the Dhamma. Oh my God, that sounds like a contradiction. Well, it's definitely a duality, and it's definitely can create some tension if you hold both of those. But that's a healthy tension, as long as it's not overwhelming. Being with that is what effort means. Being with the healthy tension is what effort means. Sometimes effort, if the healthy tension of our, when we meditate, we close our eyes, we become mindful. We are activating a practice that triggers off a developmental process. Sometimes that process will feel like we're in a crucible. Courageous effort is to be with that crucible. Sometimes courageous effort will be if we're being overwhelmed, if that's actually outside of my healthy range, the effort will be to just back off, let go. That's the support side. There's supportive effort and there's challenging effort. If we're a little bit on the, dare I say, lazy side, or our minds are just not, can't be bothered today. The courageous effort might be to just kind of lean in a little bit, to find that developmental zone. There is a developmental zone where the practice just unfolds in a most natural way. Under that, we might need to make effort to kind of arrange things so we get into that developmental zone. Beyond that, we might need to make effort to just back off a little bit so we're inside that developmental zone. But let's not throw away effort. Let's redefine effort. Let's reclaim the one of the constituents of the Eightfold Noble Path, which is vidya, which is effort. Proper translation, or more proper, a closer translation is energetic effort. And because the word effort has such a bad rap, some people just say energy, and that's fine. If that works for you, that's totally fine. But the tweak here is that we're practicing with courageous effort. Courageous effort. So according to Buddhist psychology, the characteristic of courageous effort. Let's take a deep breath and let this one in, because this is like, of all the definitions out of Buddhist psychology of all the mental states, this one is my personal favorite. The characteristic of courageous effort is an enduring patience in the face of difficulties and suffering. That's what our effort is. If you think of effort, right effort, as opposed to wrong effort, if you think of it more, let's just say the effort, as we usually use the term, it's an active expression. There's a mountain over there. Let's go to the top. Okay, let me pack my bags, go make effort, and I'm going to go up there, grab my dog, and we're going to go to the top of that mountain. Make an effort to get up there. That's kind of an active thing. It's not a passive word in common usage. Now, if we bring that active usage to our meditation practice, like I said, that's going to be challenging. It's going to be problematic. But if we look at the Buddhist psychology definition of the word effort, or vidya, or energetic effort, the quality is a enduring patience in the face of difficulties and suffering, an enduring patience in the face of challenges. Oh my God. An enduring patience. That is not an active term. Energetic effort. Okay. It's not like energetic effort, grit my teeth and go. No. I mean, sometimes we might do that, but that's not what effort is. It's also not a passive. Okay, I'm gonna like drop effort. I'm not gonna make effort, and wait for enlightenment to drop on my head. It's not that either. It's not that either. Although, paradoxically, some of you who've done retreats, you might find that after a full day of practice, you go back to your room and you rest, and then suddenly some of the biggest insights come in that moment. Probably because there was a little bit too much effort, and you relax it, and it balances out automatically. But vidya or effort or energetic effort, or courageous effort, is neither active nor passive. It's neither active nor passive. It's neither active nor passive. It's right there in the tipping point of that polarity, of that duality. Effort is to be and be with whatever's arising. If it's pleasant and easy and wonderful and far out experiences, it doesn't take effort. It doesn't take effort. When it gets to be challenging, when it gets to be difficult, when there gets to be some suffering or difficulties in the practice, that's when we need to apply effort. What does it mean to apply effort? To be patient and to allow your patience to endure the difficulty. So if the difficulty is that long, 10 seconds, 10 minutes, whatever, my patience is that long, 10 minutes and 1 second, that I can endure it. I can endure it. And of course, if, in the practice of endurance, if we're starting to get too hard with ourselves, too tight with ourselves, too forceful with ourselves, we do want to let that go. We want to relinquish that and surrender, which is the opposite of courageous effort. We could even call it courageous surrender. These two things, there's a duality, and in our spiritual path is from one moment to the next. It might require one or the other. In fact, if we look at this definition of the quality of energetic effort, to have an enduring patience in the face of difficulties and suffering, we could apply that definition to the word surrender as well. What is spiritual surrender? To be patient with difficulties and suffering. Oh my God. Two very different words, two very different, ways to meet two very different needs, but they kind of come to the same thing because they're neither active nor are they passive. They negate both of that. They negate that duality, and it rests right in the present moment to be and to be with what's arising. And that brings us to the manifestation of effort, and then we're going to sit. The manifestation of effort, the manifestation of vidya, is a bold and courageous mind. A bold and courageous mind. A bold and courageous mind. It takes boldness and it takes courage to face a challenging situation. It takes boldness and it takes courage to be utterly vulnerable. The moment might require us to be vulnerable. It takes boldness and courage to do that. Courageous effort. The moment might require us to um, to boundary up, like, healthy boundaries. I read something the other day. It's such a wonderful thing. It's from a friend of mine who's a therapist. He posted a meme in it, and the meme said, "Oh my God, I should find it. I want to share it with you all." I think it said, "Trauma requires us to armor up and disconnect, armor up and close. Put on our armor. Trauma armor. We protect ourselves. Healing requires us to boundary up and stay open, or keep the heart open." Yes, boundary up and keep the heart open. To have healthy boundaries, but keep your heart open. Oh my God, I want to cry when I kind of think about that. But this is how it is, and not to judge armoring up. That's what happens. It happens, and let's not. It's valid. It had a valid reason. Maybe we carried it along for far too many years than necessary, but whatever. The moment I become aware of that, I'm going to meet it with a bold and courageous mind. I'm going to meet it with courageous effort. I'm going to have enduring patience with challenges and sufferings and learn to be more vulnerable. If I'm a little bit too vulnerable, too transparent, oh my God, for whatever reasons, that's what I am. I'm going to learn to create boundaries, healthy boundaries, boldly and courageously, but keep the heart open. Okay? So that is a supportive factor, kind of contemplating, working with courageous effort, being patient in the face of difficulty and suffering, not just being patient, but having an enduring patience in the face of difficulties and suffering, challenging moments. This practice will sharpen your faith. This practice will sharpen your effort, obviously. This practice will sharpen your mindfulness. It will sharpen your concentration, one-pointedly, penetratively. And it will sharpen your wisdom, which will lead you along the path towards cutting through to the ultimate reality. So let's sit. Let's practice. So finding a comfortable position. Just do a check-in with the body first. By the way, I'm going to give some guiding instructions. Of course, if you have your own practice, feel free to just do that. If it's working for you, go for it. Others, if you care to follow the instructions. Thank you, Laura. If you care to follow the instructions, feel free. So, settling in, balancing, dropping into the body, and just in your kind of check in with the body, mindfulness of the body. Notice if there's any areas that are a little bit more on the unpleasant side. That might require us to be mindful, boldly and courageously be with those unpleasant experiences with enduring patience. Of course, if your body is comfortable, pleasant, or neutral, won't really take an effort. The effort will just be to kind of maintain the mindfulness, to stay present. But without having any agenda, there's no need to worry. You will get the full range of experience. It will come to visit you. We don't have to look for anything. We don't have to create anything. And shifting your mindfulness to the mind and being mindful of the qualities and characteristics of your mental state in this moment. The mind might be more open, it might be more contracted. It might be busy. It might be relaxed. It might be thinking about something from the past. It might be worrying about something from the future. This is all mental phenomena. And our human nature, our spiritual nature, I should say, has the ability to differentiate from and observe with mindfulness whatever's arising in the mind. If it's arising in the mind, it's valid, karmically created from past conditions. Allow whatever is arising to arise and observe it with a gentle, caring mindfulness. Should the mental state be a little bit on the challenging side or the difficult side, just reflect on the practice of courageous effort. Reflect on the practice of having an enduring patience in the face of difficulties and challenges. Neither actively trying to control our experience, nor passively being uninvolved with our experience. Mindfulness, courageous effort, presence, these are not active conditions. These are not passive conditions, but rather negates the mental activity into the present moment of being and being with what is arising. With a bold and courageous mind, a bold and courageous witnessing. And shifting your attention to the breath in the belly. Again, if you have a different primary object, feel free to practice as you like. And in the observation of the breath, really allow the mindfulness to fine tune. Allowing the mindfulness to fine tune means that you allow the details to come to the mind. You allow the details to come to your mind. Noticing the sensations, the qualities, and the characteristics on the movement, in the movement of the belly on the in-breath. Noticing the sensations, the qualities, and characteristics in the movement of the belly on the out-breath. Purely observing, purely witnessing, purely being mindful, with no agenda, observing the practice as it unfolds with each breath in each moment by moment, breath by breath. And bringing your mindfulness back to the body, feel the body. And being mindful of your mind, know your mental state. Take a moment and reflect on today's topic of courageous efforts. And how was the last 20, 25 minutes of practice for you in terms of having an enduring patience in the face of challenging moments or difficulties? And how courageous effort is neither an active principle nor a passive principle, but boldly and courageously in the present moment with what's arising in this moment. Feeling the space on the inside, and as you slowly open your eyes, coming out of the practice, feel the space on the outside around you. Okay, so we'll open up the chat for any questions that may have come up for you or any comments as well. But before doing that, just a couple of things. First, of course, just a reminder that Sangha Live and the daily meditations specifically are operated through the generosity of our members. So think of the amount of support that you gain from these Dhamma teachings and from Sangha Live specifically, and the teachings of Buddhism more generally. And should you be able to support back, that would be gratefully received. The Dhamma supports us, we support the Dhamma, and when we support the Dhamma supports us, and it creates a wholesome, healthy, beautiful wheel cycle of awesomeness. Okay. I have some questions that were left over from Monday, actually about 5 questions, 6 questions. I'm not sure I'll get to them. One of the questions was specifically about how to find a teacher and what are things to look for in a teacher. I'm going to address that one tomorrow. That'll be the whole topic for tomorrow. Tomorrow's topic is the qualities of a meditation teacher, and it falls into that supportive conditions for cutting through to ultimate reality. Of course, it's a teacher, so I will take a whole day and talk about daily meditation to talk about that. That was from Olivia Wickstrom. So, Olivia, if you're around, try to show up tomorrow if you can. If not, the recording will be there for you. So since nobody's dropped a question into the chat, I'll take the questions that were from Monday. First, Marco Cocioli writes, is there a difference between universal and absolute? So I was speaking about ultimate reality on Monday as an absolute, the absolute state, absolute experience, absolute truth versus relative truth. Says, and then in the absolute, I spoke synonymously, universal. I use the word universal. So Marco asks, is there a difference between universal and absolute? He says, I'm thinking about emptiness. They're kind of synonyms, yeah. So I use them interchangeably, but I wouldn't say Nibbana, the state of Nibbana, the unmanifest reality, which is the core realization that Buddhism is resting on, a Theravada for sure. I wouldn't say that that's universal, although it is universally all of our birthrights, is an experience that is universally, we all have the potential to gain Nibbana is universal. So in that sense, universal for me is a bit the way I use it, and this is just the way I use it. I don't think you'll hear that word in Buddhism. I don't recall hearing it in any of the Buddhist teachings. The way I use the word universal is that in the manifest reality, in the universe, manifest universe, it applies at all times, at all places, in all circumstances, to all things. So we know that gravity is a force that is applied universally throughout the entire known universe. Gravity is a force that's always there. It's fundamental. You can't there's no parts of the universe that don't have gravity in it, apparently. I'm not a physicist. Forgive me if I misquote something there, but as I understand, my layman's understanding is that that's a universal force. Mindfulness is universal practice. Everybody can practice, always could and always will. We're not always mindful. We often forget to be mindful. More often than not, we're not mindful. But it's universal, all times, all places, and all circumstances. That's why the Buddha said it's helpful in all things. It's universal practice. So that's how I use the distinction between the two. Emptiness. Now, emptiness could be referring to Nibbana, or it could be referring to the anatta, the non-self that we experience in the manifest reality in this present moment. Emptiness can be tasted, can be touched, and that's a universal. Everybody can. You have to shift your meditate. It's a meditative experience. It's a deeper spiritual experience, and the mind just has to align with that, and then it will universally be experienced as emptiness, where boundaries kind of disappear. But that's not the same as Nibbana, and that's all I'm going to say about Nibbana. Sinclair has a question, and let's see. Let me look at the next question up here. Sinclair, and then I'll come back to you. Kevin G asks Miles, what was what was Let It Grow? Kevin, I'm going to pass on this one. This is about my last time I was here in Song Alive, and let's just stay with, if you don't mind, I'll stay with the present. Forgive me. You can reach out to me on Song Alive. I'll check the chats for the next day or two. So if you want, you can send me a question there. By the way, Harry, who was generous enough to do the hot seat with me yesterday, he sent me a question right afterwards in the chat in Song Alive. Harry, I answered your question, so it's there if you want to go see it. Okay, so Adit Yagai had two questions. I'll take the first of her questions. Hi, Adit. And now she just has another question. Adit, I'm going to look at, what should I do now? I don't know if I should take this question or not. I'm going to take your question here. First question from the other day. If I witness thoughts changing, good. It is impermanence of thoughts, right? Correct. Then she says, or Adit, I think it's a woman, if my attention goes on and off, is that also impermanent? So this is a cool question. So the power to observe that we have is me observing a thought. I will see when the eye of insight opens enough, I'll start to see that thoughts are dissolving, that the thought is impermanent, but because it's conditioned phenomena. Now, Adit asks here, says, if my attention goes on and off, so if mindfulness comes and goes, is that also impermanent? Yes, it is. Why? Because mindfulness is also conditioned phenomena. All things in the manifest universe, physical and non-physical things, are conditioned by anicca, dukkha, and anatta. Mindfulness is also impermanent. Energetic effort is also impermanent. Concentration is also impermanent. Wisdom, believe it or not, wisdom is also impermanent. Anything, everything in the manifest universe is conditioned phenomena. All conditioned phenomena, first conditioned, are bound by this universal principle of impermanence. Okay, so if your practice feels like it's ever falling apart after a long period of released stability, it's fine. You're just seeing the Dhamma, so it's good. So carry on. Okay, Aditya, let's go to Sinclair now. Sinclair asks, armor up, boundary up. Keep an open heart has hit me like a meteor. It hit me like a meteor too. I mean, I guess I'm more or less practicing it for years now, or not practicing it sometimes. But yeah, that quote hit me like a meteor. It's beautiful, isn't it? So Sinclair goes on. I could not find my breath in meditation, just wept as this went through my mind over and over. So powerful regarding my health problems. Oh, yeah, thank you, Sinclair, for sharing that. How to deal with this skillfully. Thank you, Anne. Okay, so it's not Sinclair, it's Anne. Yeah, how to deal with this skillfully. Well, I mean, just reading your comment here, it sounds like you are dealing with it skillfully. So powerful regarding my health problems. I mean, with health problems, whether it's physical or mental, of course, we do want to have professionals on board helping with that. So that's fundamental, And now, how does meditation or mindfulness practice help you with that? Yeah, here's what I'll say about that. Any disease in our minds or bodies is probably, I shouldn't say probably, sometimes or often or sometimes it's unprocessed karma, something we're holding on from the past. And now that might need to be dealt with therapeutically, which again, seek professional support in that case. But sometimes just being mindful with it, it might not heal, it might not cure, but it for sure helps. Because to be able to be and be with it, it brings our attention right to the stress in the moment. And often stress is, or distress or unease or dis-ease is stuck energy, fixated energy. And that could be a physical ailment or some issues I'm dealing with. It's fixated energy. And when I bring my mindfulness to that fixated energy, it could be stressful. It could be a lot of pain there. And first and foremost, fundamentally, bringing mindfulness to that helps to develop tolerance for that. Tolerance for that part of ourselves that is not necessarily included in our waking experience. But it's us. It's us. So we want to be and be with us. We want to be with ourselves. So being mindful of that, first and foremost, gives us the tolerance to be patient with that, the tolerance to stay with that pain around that, for sure. There's pain there. And on a healthy side, it because the stuck energy is also conditioned phenomena. It's impermanent. It wants to move. The energy always wants to move. Conflict, the energy in the middle of conflict or distress, the energy wants to move. There's parts of us that are not allowing it to move. Now, those parts might need a therapeutic container. That's not what we're doing here. But mindfulness is very helpful with that, in that context. But here, bring your mindfulness to that energy, that fixated, stuck energy. Sooner or later, you'll see that it's also conditioned. It's also impermanent. The energy will begin to change. It will begin to move. That's number 2. Number 3 is, and this is probably the deepest, is that, when our Dharma practice goes deep enough to the point where we have the incrementally or absolutely have the realization of non-self, health issues don't go away, but the health issues that are happening to me, identified miles, the identification in that state experience will temporarily disappear. And then the relationship to the health issues is going to be completely different. The identity will come back sooner or later, what do you say, contract again and solidify, especially when we're dealing with health issues. It's always happening to me, and it's not so pleasant. But if you have moments of ease where you can just dive into some type of emptiness or non-self, if your practice has gone that far, and just be patient and maybe hang out with people who do have that, it will help support you through health issues. And I guess the last thing that I'll say is, first, again, thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry to hear about your situation. But each and every person on this call today, each and every person in your city, in my city, each and every person in this region, in your region, each and every person on this earth, each and every person from the past, in the present, and in the future, we're all heading to old age, sickness, and our demise sooner or later. So yeah, courageous effort, patience, and enduring patience in the face of difficulties and suffering. And as you started, trauma is about armoring up and closing off. Healing is about bounding up and opening our hearts. One way to say it. Okay. All right. So I have a few more questions up on the board. I have a few more questions here in the chat. We have come to the end of the time today. I will save those and hopefully maybe try to get them to them tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to give a talk on qualities of a meditation teacher. There are 5 qualities according to the Buddha. It's a classic Buddhist teaching, the qualities of a meditation teacher. And hopefully that will be some type of, offer some guidelines for Olivia and the rest of us here in connecting with teachers. And if I have time at the end, I'll get to the rest of these questions. And just a reminder, this week it's only going through to tomorrow. Friday is the end of this week's daily meditations. Also, if anybody wants to connect with me, feel free to reach out. You can find me on Facebook and on Instagram. Instagram, I post a lot of Dhamma stuff. So definitely give me a follow over there. Okay. So with that, I hope that this teaching on courageous effort will contribute to and support and help us all to be patient within our practice, and not just patient, but to have an enduring patience in the face of difficulties and challenging situations. May that lead to the eye of insight opening. May that lead to healing of our body and mind, and may that lead us forward on this path of spiritual awakening, forever and always forward in your practice. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.